Without well-defined processes, service teams can struggle to deliver consistency and a high-level quality customer experience, which directly impacts the customer retention and overall profitability. 86% of your customers will spend more money for a better experience.
Welcome to Retention Roadmap, navigating service success for new car dealerships. I'm very happy to have with us today Corey Smith, National Fixed Operations Training Manager for EasyCare and host of Forward, an EasyCare podcast, which is your go-to resource for mastering dealership operations. So Corey, welcome to the podcast. Thanks for being with us today.
Oh, are you kidding? I'm excited, Bill. This is quite a pleasure to be here, so thank you so much.
Absolutely. We're putting you on the other side of the microphone, so to speak. You're used to being the host. Now you're going to be in the guest seat.
I know, this is going to be weird for me, so be gentle.
Oh, come on. No worries there. No worries there. So you've got just a wealth of knowledge about fixed operations, so I want to just dive right into it so we get the most from our time today. So, I think of EasyCare as really being one of the premier providers of F&I products, and I find it interesting that your company does fixed operations training. So tell us a little bit about how that came to be and what the purpose behind that is.
Well, I mean, I was working someplace else where I wasn't really being utilized for my skills and talents, and I started building this PowerPoint just to get everything out of my head of what I wanted to do, what was my ideal job that was going to make me happy and get me excited to get out of bed in the morning. So
Yep.
I presented this PowerPoint to Tony Wandron, our CEO, and said, basically in short, 12 slide view is that you need to hire me and here's why. And he agreed. He's like, we've been looking for something like this. And, if you really look at it, we're only one of few that actually offer something like this. So at EasyCare, our primary focus is being a full dealer partner for our clients. We recognize that a dealership success is not solely tied just to sales. It's also deeply connected to the efficiency and effectiveness of their service departments.
Amen.
So one key problems that we help solve is the lack of cohesive processes within the service department. Without well-defined processes, service teams can struggle to deliver consistency and a high-level quality customer experience, which directly impacts the customer retention and overall profitability. 86% of your customers will spend more money for a better experience. You and I are customers. We'll go to the place that treats us the best and has the best selection, right? It's not always about price. It's about that experience. So we work with dealerships to build and refine those processes, ensuring that they have everything they need to help their team members, from advisors to technicians, have the skills they need for their role, including training on both sales and service, for customer service, helping them understand the why behind a customer's visit to the dealership, by equipping them with, really high-level tools, if you will, to the service teams. With the right knowledge, we can help the dealership transform their service departments into a powerful driver of customer loyalty and satisfaction.
Mm-hmm. Right. So when you go into a typical dealership, start an engagement with a dealership, what are some of the more common problems, the low-hanging fruit, if you will, if there is such a thing in 2024, when it comes to helping a dealership improve their operations and their retention in particular?
I think there's a couple of them, right? And I think first off, you want to change the advisor's mindset that they're not too busy, right? And they do have the hardest job in the dealership. I was a service advisor at a high level for a long time, and it wasn't until I started pushing myself to say I'm not too busy. I can take another customer. I can do this. I started really seeing my potential. And we want to change the advisors from selling oil changes or widgets to selling time. Maximizing that time that you have in the shop, you're going to have higher loyalty with the customers. You're going to have happier technicians because they're making time in the shop, and you're going to take advantage of how much that lift cost per month. One of the most significant opportunities for improvement is implementing a written process or playbook. Many service departments operate without a cohesive and structured approach, which can lead to a disjointed customer experience. A well-documented process ensures the customer receives top-notch service every time they visit, which is crucial for building long-term trust and loyalty. Think of McDonald's. Now, if I ask you what does McDonald's do, you're like, well, they sell hamburgers. No, they sell consistency. You know what you're going to get when you go to McDonald's, right? What are you going to get when you go to the dealership? It's going to vary depending on who you deal with. If we look at a playbook, right, like we do in sports, then we're making money with a plan. We're making an experience with a plan as opposed to just winging it. Another area of opportunity is how service advisors present and communicate with customers. Advisors need to shift from simply offering services to educating customers about their vehicle's needs. The main job of an advisor is to present and advise on necessary repairs or maintenance in a way that is clear, transparent, and tailored to the customer's level of understanding. This not only builds trust, but also empowers the customer to make an informed decision and enhancing their overall experience.
That's great. You know, when you talk about this, having a playbook, I'm curious as to how that then translates into when a service advisor should bring up certain products that would benefit the customer and obviously benefit the dealership as well, such as, the one I think of is like a prepaid maintenance package or a service bundle. I'm curious to hear your thoughts in terms of how you see the best dealers performing on selling those particular products to vehicle owners, and what makes them different, what makes them successful.
Yeah, I mean, I worked at a dealership in Portland, Maine, and we had our own prepaid maintenance. And I can tell you when I sold one, I got paid $10 for every one I sold. And it was just an oil change and tire rotation. Pretty simple, right? And you got 3 services. So you basically got one for free. But that got that customer coming back. And if you think of it from a mindset of a customer, you're like, if I go to that customer and say, hey, you're due for an alignment, and here's why, and I educate them, they're like, you know what, I'm getting the oil change done for free and the tire rotation, go ahead. And they're more apt to buy it because they've already bought it. Now, they're not getting it for free, but in their mind, they think they are, right? So prepaid maintenance programs are one of the biggest ones. I'm going to keep beating this until people really start listening to me, but selling service contracts directly from the service drive, that and prepaid maintenance are 2 of the most impactful tools the dealership can utilize. Now, prepaid maintenance ensures the customer returns to the dealership for their service needs, creating multiple touch points where the dealership can build a relationship and reinforce trust. Now, again, 86% of your customers will spend more money for a better experience, right? Additionally, offering service contracts in the service drive provides customers with peace of mind and a sense of security knowing their vehicle is covered beyond what the manufacturer warranties, right? Investing time into each customer interaction is another crucial process. This means that the service advisor should take time to thoroughly understand each customer's needs and concerns, personalizing their approach and follow-up to ensure satisfaction. These practices can not only improve customer retention, but also foster a positive reputation for the dealership. It's a huge impact that you can look at when you're looking at prepaid maintenance or even service contracts. If a customer buys a service contract and they go to use it at your facility, they feel more secure. They feel like, all right, they're taking care of me, even though they paid whatever that service contract costs. Same thing with the prepaid maintenance. Customers want to be taken care of, but it has to be easy to use for both the customer and the service advisor. If it's clunky for them to use it, they're not going to use it, no matter how much money they can make at it, no matter how much it benefits the customer.
Absolutely. Do you have any, with respect to selling service contracts on a drive, Corey, do you have any kind of standards or metrics that you use to educate the dealership or dealership management in terms of, here's what you should be selling, whether it's a percentage of ROs or that type of thing? Any metrics like that for service contracts in particular?
For service contracts, you want to be around 10%. 10%
Okay.
close is a really good place to be, and it's going to take some time to get there. Again, you got to have a process, you got to have training, and not just somebody like me coming in and train, but you've got to, as a manager or leadership, you've got to be on that front line too and hold those people accountable. When it comes to prepaid maintenance, I mean, I sold, let's see, I got 10, everyone I sold, $10. I made enough to pay for my Sequoia payment, which is $500 a month. So, I mean, if you want to backtrack the math
Yeah,
on
yeah,
that, I wrote up 41 repair orders a day. I probably was selling half of those prepaid maintenance,
yeah,
right? So
yeah.
that's a good clip. A 50% clip is really high. So if you can be, 15 to 30%, somewhere in that range for selling prepaid maintenance, you're really engaging that customer and they're going to come back.
Right.
And you want it to be your own program, right? Because if it's Ford's program or whoever else program, then they dictate the rules. And
Exactly.
if you can have a little loose rules, like let's say I come in and you're my service advisor and I'm over on time. Well, if it's your program, you're like, you know what, Corey, you're a great customer. We're just going to take care of it for you. You are over on time, but that's okay. Do you want to buy another one while you're here? Yes, I do, Bill. Thanks for taking care of me. I really appreciate it.
Yep. Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more, Corey. I mean, in my experience, from what I've seen over the years, a prepaid maintenance plan, I'm gonna call them service bundles as opposed to like a fully comprehensive, maintenance package that covers everything. I'm talking about oil changes, tire rotations. In my experience, when those are executed right, and to your point exactly, when they're designed for the dealer, by the dealer, and to make it easy on the service advisors, it makes such a difference in terms of those penetration rates. And what we see is that I haven't seen anything that provides a higher retention rate than a good service bundle sold on a drive, as well as getting really high repurchases, getting refills. Customers are coming back, they're using the 3 or 4 of them, coming back and buying another package again and again. And yeah, I think in addition to what you've already mentioned, is there anything else, just to tie out this part of the conversation that you feel is essential to, making sure of putting together a successful prepaid maintenance plan for a dealer?
I think you have to look at what your goal is. What do you want to offer? Because some dealers get really inner workings of what they're going to do. Like, oh, I think we should do a detail and a tire rotation and an oil change. I like to keep it simple approach where it's just an oil change, tire rotation, and a multi-point inspection. Have one that's fully synthetic and one that's conventional, depending on what your work mix is going into your dealership. And, make it make sense to the customer that they know simple math that like, okay, I'm getting one service for free, right? The key again is between your average performers in the dealership lies in ease of use when you're integrating this prepaid maintenance program for both service and the customer. For the program to really be efficient, it needs to be seamless and it needs to be transparent, right? Allowing them to present it confidently and effortlessly to the customer and taking seconds to build that contract, right? Because it is a contract that you're building within that system.
Right.
And I think if you do that, you're going to have a higher adoption rate and a stronger customer loyalty by doing that.
Absolutely. While we're talking about prepaid maintenance, I just want to take the opportunity to mention a resource we have available on our website called Selling Prepaid Maintenance in the Service Drive, which is a checklist that breaks down exactly what you need to do to see success selling packages in the service lane. It's available at drivesure.com/resources, or you can just drop me a message. I'll be happy to get you a copy. And it applies to whether you're administering this program yourself as a dealer or you're having a third party do it. It's basically applies to any type of situation. As far as the customer experience in 2024, Corey, how do you see that as being different and unique than what it's been even in the recent past? What are some of the changes that you've seen that customers are expecting more of or expecting less of in terms of their overall experience with the dealership?
I mean, I think looking ahead, one of the most significant, changes or threats, if you will, to the service department is that rapid advancement of vehicle technology, right? Cybersecurity, particularly with the rise of electronic vehicles as EVs become more and more prevalent. Service departments will face a really drastic shift in the types of services that they need to offer. The traditional maintenance like oil changes and engine repair will diminish quite a bit, while more complex software updates and battery management will take precedence, right? Dealerships need to start preparing now by investing in specialized training for their technicians and advisors to stay ahead of these changes. Now, I'm not saying it's going to happen tomorrow, but it's getting more and more attention as we go on. And we're not that far from 2030, 2031 when they say, hey, this is where all that percentage is going to go. Do I think that's going to happen? No, but I think 2% every year is going to start to add up. Another emerging threat is the increased competition from independent service providers and mobile service solutions. Customers are becoming more accustomed to convenience. I'm willing to pay more money for convenience. Amazon is another good one to really talk about. Is that I'll go on Amazon, I'll buy something, and I know I'm paying more for it, but it's saving me time and money from going out to the store and getting it, right? So it's solving that solution for me. It's convenience, it's flexibility. And if the dealerships don't adapt, they're risking losing market share, a huge percentage of that market share, because the customer is changing. An opportunity here is for the dealership to enhance their service offering by integrating more digital tools such as online service schedulings, remote diagnosis, and even offering mobile service options themselves. Not waiting for the manufacturer to tell them to do it, them take the initiative to learn how to do it and be on that forward thinking, right? On the opportunity side, there is use of data analytics in the service department that is still an untapped resource for many dealerships. By leveraging data, dealerships can better understand customers' behavior, predicting service needs, and personalizing customer experience. This approach, being proactive, can significantly boost customer satisfaction, retention, giving the dealership a competitive edge in a rapidly evolving market.
For sure. I'm glad you brought up the mobile service because that's been a recurring and hot topic recently. And I'm curious as to maybe go into that just a little bit deeper in terms of what your thoughts are on that. What impact do you think it will have on service department capacity? One of the things that we've seen in a survey that we did on our service retention survey that we did in last year that changed over the prior 3 years was service appointment availability was a driver of whether or not a customer returned to the dealership or not. If they couldn't get an appointment within, a week, 2 weeks, they're more of at risk of defection. What impact do you think, if any, mobile service can have on that particular problem?
I think it can bring down a lot of that because some of your customers with bigger issues, right, an engine or diagnosis, something like that, you can't do that with mobile service. But if you have a way to go to local dealerships, whether it's new or used, to do recalls at their facilities, that's a revenue driver. Customer-wise, if you can do the simple services, oil changes, wiper blades, air filters, cabin filters, rotations, maybe even a simple brake job. Those are things that are going to help alleviate the stress of that schedule. There isn't a perfect way a schedule is going to work out. If I tell you to come in at 8:00, you're going to get there early, and you're going to expect to get in earlier, right? We've got to change the customer's perception of an appointment. When you say you have an appointment at 9:00, you think your car is going in the shop at 9:00. We need to change that to check-in time. Your check-in time with Bill is at 9:00. That's going to give him time to walk around your vehicle, get to know what your needs are, and then he'll tell you what time it's going to go in. It's the same thing in the doctor's office, right? You don't see a doctor at 9:00 for your appointment. It's like 9:20, 9:30. Why can't we do the same thing? So you're going to free up your schedule long term, right? But the other thing that I would highly stress with these dealerships, when they're listening, is pick up and drop off services are good too, right? Dropping off a rental or a loaner, picking up their vehicle. I did that 10 years ago. You should have a plan to do that. And if you're going to have mobile service, have an advisor that's just dedicated to running the mobile service team. Invest into the equipment and the trucks, right? And have a person that's coordinating your drop-off and pickup service, right? Those two things right there, the customer's not going to want to go anywhere else. Why would
Agreed.
I can
Agreed.
call and you're going to just drop a vehicle off. Not that I really need one, but you're going to take my vehicle and drop one off just in case I need one. Awesome.
Right.
Where else would I want to go for that?
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. One of the things I also wanted to go back and drill down on a bit is you mentioned dealerships need to leverage analytics more to help them run their business and specifically in service. What have you seen lately that you've found particularly promising or helpful to dealerships from an analytics standpoint that has you think would be useful for if more dealers adopted?
Doing simple things, right? Harvard Business School had a study. Something as small as 5% in retention can lead to 25 to 95% profit. And it doesn't have to be anything crazy. Again, it's how it makes people feel that is going to make them want to come back. If they feel good, they're going to come back. Customers would rather go to the dental office than come to the dealership, right? If we can give them a good experience and treat them the way that they want to be treated and do little things, like I'm talking knowing what time they're going to pick up their vehicle and having it out front with the AC on when it's hot outside with a bottle of water in it, right? Walking them out to their vehicle, taking the floor mat out, taking the seat cover off and the hat tag, right? And thanking them for their business. It's 30 seconds of time that it takes to do that, but it builds the customer like, wow, Corey was awesome. I love that. Right. Your average customer, whether it's domestic or foreign, I think domestic is 2.2 times per year they come to the dealership and 1.8 for foreign. They don't know the lay of the land like the advisor does. Show them around. Treat them as a guest, right?
Right.
Here's our restroom. As luck would have it, here's the last donut. Here's our gourmet coffee. There's our crazy parts department. You may not want to talk to them, right? But, make it fun and interactive, right? Give them a piece of yourself. Whether you like it or not, you're on stage.
Right.
And if you don't give the customer the best of yourself, they're not going to want to come back. It doesn't matter if Mr. Jones yelled at you because his vehicle's not running right. You can't take it out on Mrs. Jones, right? You've got to give them the best of yourself every time. And it's a hard mindset to have for the advisor, right? And they've got to block out what just happened to them and smile and wave. It's like they're a bartender and a therapist all wrapped up into one.
So true. So true. Corey, just so many great topics of conversation here. We could talk for hours on any one of these. And, I really, so much to think about. I really appreciate your thoughts on, having a playbook and the importance of that. Couldn't agree with you more on that. Prepaid maintenance and making sure that's well designed for the dealership. Being proactive around technology and software updates and being really prepared for what's coming down the pike, particularly around EVs, mobile service, analytics, and that overall, customer experience is obviously critical. And I think we're going to hear more and more about that and the importance of that as time goes on. So before I let you go, Corey, I'm going to put you on the spot here. Given your background, what's one piece of advice that you would give to yourself if you were starting out today as a service manager?
Oh, man. You're a servant leader. Learn how to be a servant leader. It's not all about barking at somebody. It's not about the money with employees. It's about how they feel. They want to be a part of something, just like your customers want to be a part of something. Do some research and take some classes on being a servant leader.
That's fantastic, and that's a great thought to end on. Really appreciate your time, Corey. If anyone wanted to get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
Man, I'm all over on LinkedIn.
Yep.
A huge fan of LinkedIn. You can email me anytime. I love talking about this. I'm super passionate about it. csmith@apcoholdings.com. And if you want to check out our podcast, you can listen to some good nuggets on there too.
Yep. And that podcast is Forward, correct?
Yes.
Fantastic. Corey, fantastic. Thanks very much for joining us. Been a really productive and enjoyable conversation. And we look forward to talking to you again soon.
Love it. Thank you.
You have been listening to the Retention Roadmap Podcast, Navigating Service Success for New Car Dealerships. Subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts.